Hello everyone, and welcome to Chess with M&M. Today we will see a game happened in 2008 between one of the most crazy and strong players in the chess history, Vassily Ivanchuk, and between the challenger of the 2016 World Championship, Sergey KARJAKIN. And in this game, we will get to know about this player, Vassily Ivanchuk, and we will see his crazy game style, and we will see why he's so special and strong player. So let's get started. Ivanchuk with the white pieces and Sergey with the black pieces. Ivanchuk started by e4. The king's pawn opening, c5 by Sergey, the Sicilian defense, knight to f3 developing his knight, and d6 by Sergey. d4 by Ivanchuk, the main line in the Sicilian defense, c takes on d4, knight takes on d4, and knight to f6 by Sergey. Give me the pawn on e4. Knight to c3 guarding the pawn, and a6 by Sergey. And this is the knight or variation in the Sicilian defense. Now the idea by a6 is controlling this square on b5 because there is a lot of pressure by the white on this square. So a6 to controlling the square on b5. Bishop to c4 developing his bishop on the a to g8 diagonal, and e6 by Sergey. e6 closing this diagonal in front of this bishop and making room for his dark square bishop to coming to e7 and castling in the future. So after e6, bishop back to b3. Now here the bishop on the c4 is unprotected, and there is always b5 and d5 with tempo on this bishop. So so he moved his bishop away from any b5 and d5. Prophylactic move. b5 by b5 by Sergey. The idea by e5 is taking a space on the queen side and threatening b4 to threat this knight, and when this knight move I will take the pawn on e4. So b5 threatening b4 to taking the pawn on e4, bishop to g5 bending this knight, and bishop to e7. Now my knight is not bending anymore, so I'm threatening b4 and knight takes on e4. So here Ivanchuk played queen to f3 to guarding this pawn on e4, and also threatening e5. I will threat your rook on the a8 and your knight on the f6, so you have to do something here. Sergey played queen to c7. Now the idea by queen to c7, if you played e5 and this is what happened in the game, I will play bishop to b7, bishop to u7, threatening your queen, so you have to move your queen, and then I will make something with this knight. So after bishop to b7, Ivanchuk played, okay, I will move my queen, but first I will take your pawn on d6, e takes on d6. Now the idea here, if you take my queen, bishop takes on f3, I will take your queen, d takes on c7, threatening your knight and your bishop. Even if you take the pawn on g2 to threatening my rook, I can take the knight with check. And then when you take my pawn, I will play rook to g1, going away from the threat and threatening your bishop, and you will be down a piece. So for this season here, after bishop to b7 and e5, bishop to b7, and e takes on d6, Sergey here take the pawn on d6, bishop takes on d6, and Ivanchuk here moved his queen away. And bishop to c4 by Sergey, bishop to c4, bending this knight on the d4, castling by Ivanchuk, and knight to c6 by Sergey. And here Ivanchuk played one of the most craziest sacrifices in the chess world, and he played a move shocked everyone was watching this game, and it is queen takes on e6. Queen takes on e6, unbelievable and unexpected sacrifice by Ivanchuk. Now what the idea by queen takes on e6? The idea is so simple. Now this king on the e8 didn't castle to any side. So if I opened the center, and if I open these files on this king will be in a big trouble. And this is the idea, just opening the files and the center on this king. So here Sergey accepted the sacrifice, and he took the queen, f takes on e6, and he said, okay, let's take the queen, and if we save from this attack materially, we are fine. So after f takes on e6, knight takes on e6 by Ivanchuk, knight takes on e6, give me your queen on the c7, and your bishop on the c5, and your pawn on the g7, and also not allow your king to castling to any sides. So after knight takes on e6, Queen to e5, going away from the threat and guarding the bishop on the c5. Knight takes on g7 with check. King to f8 and knight back to e5, e6 with check. Just captured the pawn and he back it to the e6. Knight to e6 with check. King to f7 and rook h to e1. Rook h to e1 threatening the queen. And here Sergey said, okay, now we have a queen for 3 pawns, alright? So let's just repeat his queen to him by queen takes on e1. And when he took our queen by rook capture on e1, now we can capture the pawn on f2 and then threatening his rook, and then we can do some counter attack, something in the position. But here, after queen takes on e1, Ivanchuk said, who said, I'm forced to take your queen. He captured the bishop on the c1 on the c5 first with check, and after king to g6, then he captured the queen on e1. Rook takes on e1, and here king takes on g5 by Sergey. Knight takes on b7 by Ivanchuk, and knight to d4 by Sergey. Now here, if you count the pieces, we will see the white has 2 knights for 2 knights, rook for a rook, and bishop for a rook. But if we count the pawns, we will see the black has 3 pawns, while the white has 6 pawns. So is that enough? Yeah, this is enough for the white. Is this enough? So knight to d4 by Sergey, knight back to b6 by Ivanchuk, threatening knight to f7 and making 4 between the rook and the king. So rook to f8 to controlling this square. f3 by Ivanchuk, and b5 by Sergey. b5 threatening the knight on the c3. Knight to e4 with check, going away from the threat by knight to e4. Knight takes on e4 and rook takes on e4 by Ivanchuk. Rook takes on e4, threatening the knight. When you move your knight, I will capture your pawn on the b4. So here Sergey played knight takes on b3 first, and after a takes on b3, he played a5. a5 to guarding the pawn on the b4. Rook to g4 by Ivanchuk. Rook to g4 with check. King to f6 and knight to e4 check by Ivanchuk. King to e5 and rook to h4. Rook to h4 give me the pawn on the h7. a4 by Sergey. Now if you take my pawn on the h7, I will take the pawn on the b3, and after c takes on b3, I have rook to a1. Rook to a1 check, and when you move your rook example to the c2, I have rook to c8 check, and when you move your king example to the d2, I have rook to b1, and then I will capture the b2's pawn with check, and then the b3 pawn, and then I will try to making some counter attack with this passed pawn on the b4. So for this season here, after a5, Ivanchuk said, okay, I will take the pawn on the a4, and after rook takes on a4, I will play knight to c5. Knight to c5 give me the rook, and when you move your rook, I will capture your pawn on the b4. So after knight to c5 by Ivanchuk, rook to a1 by Sergey with check, king to d2, and rook to g8 by Sergey. Rook to g8, threatening the pawn on the g3. On the g2, sorry, g3 by Ivanchuk to guarding the pawn, and rook to f1. Rook to f1 give me the pawn on the f3. King to e2, we don't giving a pawn, sorry. Give me your rook to b1. Rook to b1 going away from the threat and threatening the pawn on the b2, and rook to take capture on b4 by Ivanchuk. Rook takes on b4, winning a pawn and guarding the pawn on the b2. King to d5 by Sergey, threatening the knight and trying to do something in this position, but here Ivanchuk just played knight to e4. Now Ivanchuk's plan is so simple, just pushing this pawns for the end and bringing a queen, and the black has nothing to do. He just watching the white when his plans is just watching the white when he pushing his pawns. And so knight to e4 by Sergey. King to c6, he wants his king near on this pawns to trying to stop them, but here h4 by Ivanchuk. Okay, we will making a passed pawn on this side, but also let's make a passed pawn on the other side, on the king side. Rook to h1, he will play trying to playing rook to h2 and making some checks on this king on the e2. rook to c4 check, making room for the pawn to playing b4 and making passed. King to the b6 and b4 by Ivanchuk. Let's making some queens. Rook to d8 and rook to c5, controlling the 5th rank. Rook to e8, rook to e8 by Sergey, trying to do something on the second and the first ranks. But here c3 by Ivanchuk, c3 by Ivanchuk. Rook to a2 by Sergey with check. King to e3, rook to e1 check by Sergey, king to f4. Rook to f1 by Sergey, trying to putting a pressure on the pawn on the f3, but here Ivanchuk, sorry, just played rook to h5. Rook to h5, give me your last pawn and your only hope which you has. Here rook to a8 by Sergey. Rook takes on h6 first, and after king to b5, knight to d6 by Ivanchuk, not although this king to coming to the c4 square and stopping my pawns. King to a4 and rook takes on h7 by Ivanchuk. King to b3, threatening the pawn on the c3. Rook c7 to guarding the pawn, and rook to d8, threatening the knight on the d6. Knight back to f5, and in this position Sergey Karyakin just resigned the game. Why he resigned the game? Because he has nothing to do. The white's plan is so simple, just pushing this 5 pawns and not making queen, making a queens. And the black has no counter attack, and he has nothing to do. He's just watching the white whitely pushing his pawns. So after knight to f5, in this position Sergey Karyakin resigned the game. So hope you enjoyed the video and learn from it. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.